I want to thank everybody for coming. Actually, I don't really have to do a whole lot of talking. I just want to say that launching and kind of redesigning a school built around career pathways, and this isn't really where we want to stop. We have plans on launching and growing more career pathways. Many of you have seen our programs. We've built a full registered apprenticeship where you get a journey card. This is going to talk about the newest pathway. And now that we're building more and more, how can we frame out these career-based opportunities? They carry college credits, they put you direct to work, they get you employed, you're earning money. It's not like this career is absent of my college education. It's actually how we married it all together. And this has been through a lot of work. This was the vision when I interviewed to come to Elma. We actually sat about 20% lower than the state average on post-secondary going rate. We actually sit near the bottom of the state on near the top of the state on unemployment rate, which is a bad area to sit. And it was like, so our students that are graduating as a county are not going to college, they're not going to work, and how can we fix this? And one of the best ways to fix this is to get students tied to a career, get them credentialed, get them certified. Our students are actually leaving here making great wages, completing journey level cards, earning college credits, and creating a gateway. And the plan now is how can we transform and create more of these pathway opportunities so that Elma graduates are the most employable graduates, not just in Grace Harbor County, but across Washington State. So this is what we've been designing. This has been our vision. We designed a school like this when I was in Yakima. It's impressive. We have almost no discipline. I mean, Russ, the principal there, will tell you, he's like, I've had one fight in 2 years. It's a self-contained environment because, again, you're working in a forestry and then a manufacturing program the bulk of your day. So there's not a lot. Most of our bullying, harassment issues happen during passing time and during lunch. There's not a passing time because this is where you are. And as Christy gets into the design, Christy has worked really hard. Our administrative team has worked really hard on how can you make something like this work. And it's really a comprehensive education redesign. And we're just happy to bring this vision here. And again, Christy's going to talk about what she's built for your students, how it'll work, the partnerships that have been created. And with that.
Thank you. Also, I wanted to say we have our principal, Tasha Holm, here, and one of our counselors, Sunshine Perry, and our other counselor is in with the running start session, Bobby Smith. So those are going to be other key people to reach out to, ask questions and things like that. Okay. So we have the Elma Innovation Academy where we're building a new school, and you're going, okay, where's the building? There is no building. It's a school within a school. And so I'm gonna walk you through the process. It's gonna be a lot of information, but then my hope is you have pen, pencil, and paper. If you have some questions you want to ask, please do so. I think what I'd like to do is just go through the presentation and then wait for the questions afterwards, because I think you'll get the whole picture of it. So first and foremost, our Elma mission vision is that we really want all kids, we want to empower them to reach the new heights. To foster a culture of excellence, lifelong learning in our community. And as Superintendent Nesbitt said, we need to have more of our students into the workplace, into post-secondary options, so that they have opportunity to earn a family living wage. Our vision is to have a future where every Elma Eagle takes flight equipped with knowledge, skills, and resilience to navigate their unique journeys, contribute meaningfully in their communities, and embrace opportunities that await. And that is one thing I want to just emphasize too, unique journey. We know that every student has special gifts, they're unique in their own way, but they also all learn differently. And so what can we do to embrace that power of learning and that curiosity that they all have, but sometimes they just need a different atmosphere or different placement in order to have that I'm hoping to explode into something really positive and powerful. So one of our main focuses to our initiative, one initiative is career college readiness. Hence, that's why we're working towards a career pathway academy. We realize that this is for all kids, but we also realize that not regular comprehensive school is for all kids either. And so what can we do to prepare all of our students for career college readiness? And essentially, what we look here is that our goal is to improve post-secondary going rate from 33% to 40%. And then we really want to identify different post-secondary pathways, what's needed in Grace Harbor County, but also in our state. And also build dual credit articulations where at the end, all students have 12 usable college credits. Why 12? Usable college credits too. Why are we putting it at least a minimum number of 12? Anyone want to guess? Typically, it's what a quarter or a semester of college would accept, just 1 quarter or semester. And if we can get our students to understand and embrace that they can achieve that, then college isn't so daunting, and it can be done. Also, we really want to remove interest in barriers to our students for transitions, and so we're looking at financial aid support applications, but also creating a program that not only are they going through high school and kerchunk, they graduate, we're done. No, we want to make sure that we have a fluid pathway for them into their 13th and 14th year, or whatever beyond that, so that they are connected to either a technical college, a community college, it could even be a bachelor's program, whatever, and or apprenticeship, military. We want to make sure that they see them in these different journeys and they can connect. So why Grace Harbor, as far as some of our highlights, and again, why this, in our county right now, I think you realize this even across the nation, we have a big gap. In our county is no different. Our largest workforce group is employed 55 plus. That's me. And we're going to be retiring, being done. And so we need more young people to be tooled up to take on those jobs. And right now I'm going to say tooled up because when we lose that 55 plus, we're losing a vast amount of experiences. But can we figure out ways to get our students to see those experiences in action and embrace them while they're younger, and so that they're ready to take in that transition and fill that gap? Also, you can see in-demand industries here within Grace Harbor County and across our state is manufacturing, natural resources, health sciences, education, early child care counseling, IT, computer science. And the reality is that we also know that we want to, in Grace Harbor County, if we're going to build this county to not be poor and unhealthy, we need to bring in more commerce. And so the only way we're going to bring in industry partners to our county is if we have a skilled labor force. Because we have rail, we have water, we have the resources, we have a deep water port that goes directly to the Pacific Rim, unlike taking everything to Tacoma or Seattle. We can build this county to be very powerful and impressive and have livable, amazing jobs for all of our families. And that's really what we need to do, but we have to tool up and train the workforce so that they will come here. So how can we meet the demands of the trained workforce? The way we're looking at it is, as we're building this program, we need to connect with industry partners. Check. We need to connect with post-secondary. Check. We need to connect with students. Relevance, relationship, rigor. That's what this program is going to do. Check. We need to connect students with industry post-secondary options and 21st century skills. This program is going to do that. We need to connect education practice with the real world. In other words, and a lot of this, the 8th graders and 9th graders, how many bosses do you have right now? 6. That's just at school. They have a lot of bosses at home probably. Okay. But the reality is 6 bosses, 6 different classes, 50 minutes at a time, going from one class to another. And sometimes they just finally get settled and get it figured out. And boom, I have to move from math to English. 2 different, very different topics, and honestly, a very different way of thinking at times. And so can we change that so that we can mirror more of the workforce? And yes, our current education system, it's efficient, it's maybe not effective for all students, but can we mirror something that's going to be more real world and practical? And so we're going to talk about an innovation center that they're going to have 2 bosses. And then they're going to have an extra lot of support for personalizing their journey, okay? And then we really want to, in addition to connect academics with application, okay? When I learn, it's almost the why. Why do I need to learn this? Well, we're going to make it, and they're going to know the why because it's relevant and they can apply it. So this is going to be a thematic approach. In other words, thematic approach where we're going to focus on, for this year, this cohort is going to be 25 2B 9th and 10th graders, and they will be focusing on manufacturing, STEM, and natural resources. And then the approach, again, is to incorporate real-life skills, workplace experience, academic learning standards through career pathways, and then get the students interested in exploring. One of the things that some people will say, well, what if they don't really want this career pathway? Remember, all career pathways are usually pretty fluid. I would say probably, I had a couple different options about what I wanted to do for my career. Some of you know my husband just figured out what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. And it's always a journey. And so that is the thing that we need to do is like, can we create these pathways, but let the students explore and see it, to be it, and to recognize that, oh, that's what it's like. Because we have a lot of thoughts, but we really don't know what's really happening in all of these industries. So why career pathways focus? One is to meet the need of 21st century skills, to embrace the hands-on and minds-on approach, utilize new technologies, have it be career relevant, grow our workforce to increase commerce in Grace Harbor County, and looking at our key industries with forest and wood products, multiple industries in manufacturing and STEM, and then to acquire skills that are transferable. Again, like we said, a lot of times we may be changing our pathways or at least changing the direction, but a lot of the 21st century skills that we're going to be implementing, those are all transferable skills, and they're essential skills and necessary skills no matter what pathway they do. So how is Elma going to be different? How is this Innovation Center going to be different? It's going to be career preparation with focused activities. It's going to be a deep dive into career pathways connecting academics. It's going to be hands-on, minds-on. It's going to be personalized for master standards and learning. It's going to be independent time and ownership of learning, college credit, industry recognized credentials, and a team with like-minded learners such as themselves. And one of the examples I want to say is like when you look at deep dive or personalized learning, things like that. I think back when I was in high school, it didn't come easy for me. I love math. And if I had standards for math, I would have knocked it out of the park consistently. English was not my strong suit. I was a creative speller, still am, thank goodness for spell check. But the reality is that I did struggle with English, but with personalized, I'm going to be able to team with somebody that's going to look at my learning style, look at my interests, make sure that I'm getting reading material that's going to connect with what I want to learn and how I want to learn it. Still check off the boxes for standards that I understand theme, I understand plot, those kinds of things. And so that's really important. And all of this is to earn a diploma, an Elma School District diploma. This is not different than anything else. It's not less than, more than, while participating in sports and activities if you choose to, and have high school experiences. So how does this look? Well, what we're going to look at is in the morning, it's going to be manufacturing STEM. It'll be down in our shop area. Right now, that instructor is going to be Mr. Rentz. And it's going to be for 150 minutes solid block. No passing time. They don't have to go out in the hallways, which is sometimes, I think, a blessing. Okay. They're down in that area. Then you're saying, well, when do they have a break? Well, they'll have breaks based on where they're at in their activities. Because in this classroom, they're going to be engaging activities. There's going to be individual work. There's going to be teamwork. There's going to be multiple projects going on. It's going to fully embrace not only the concepts of manufacturing, but it's going to incorporate the applied math with that, with the geometry and the algebra for programming CNC machinery. It's also going to put in the application of science with physical science, chemistry, through material science and all that stuff. It's also going to bring in the history and social studies about labor laws. Why are we at? What's the economy? And how do we connect our industry partners and all of that? And so it's going to bring in the art, because when we're designing and manufacturing, we have to design. We have to be creative and think about that, and then think about that process. So we're going to bring in all of those academics and apply that in this career pathway. So it's going to be relevant. It's going to be real. Then we're going to, they'll have lunch. Lunch will be here in the Commons with other friends, so they're not going to be totally isolated from their friends. All depends on when the friends have lunch, because at the high school it's multiple grades. Okay, so they could have a first lunch, second lunch, but also at this time, this is a little bit longer period of time where this is the opportunity for them to get personalized help also. It could be maybe they need to dive deeper into some science concepts or English in my case. And then they're going to get that support. Later on, as they get older and grow through this program in high school, it could be where, hey, I want to get my college credits knocked out. Okay, so there's going to be some opportunities there. Then in the PM, we're gonna switch it to natural resources forestry. That is still to be determined as our person there. But again, it's going to embrace the full concepts. And you can think about natural resources. It's going to embrace environmental sciences, all the biologies. It's also going to embrace a lot of math when we start looking at applications of timber cruising, statistics with population density, all of that. And then now bring in legislation and lobbying that we do in order to make sure that we're protecting our environment and or not, depending on what's going on. Okay, bring in the salmon. Should we bring down the dams or not? Now you're going to have students that are going to be teaming and really thinking really outside the box of these issues. And these issues will still be probably prevalent even when they're 50 years old, but they can all understand how to create that argument and support that argument based on their position. So we're going to be looking at a lot of different things. So you can see that it's going to be like a makerspace. It's going to be multiple projects. It's going to be a rotation through the stations, field trips within the industry. You know, I love that they're going to go down the Chehalis River and be taking some water quality samples. The school used to do that a lot with their students. We're going to do a lot of beyond the classroom activities with this. So get them out, see it. So this is a lot of writing, but this kind of just gives you an idea. I wanted to lay it out that 9th and 10th grade is really going to be foundational learning with personalization for them to meet standards in math, English, and history and all of that. But also then you notice that 10th grade, and some 9th graders could be too, but possibly by the time their sophomore year, they might be checking off the standards for some of the college credits that we have this curriculum aligned to. Okay. And then we're looking at 11th grade year that we're hopefully getting them into extended learning opportunities with college credits through the pathway, but like a registered apprenticeship in our manufacturing program and or an internship with our natural resources. And then continue to complete their academic standards and apply those 21st century skills. Right now, we have students that are working, junior and senior, that are working with industry partners in manufacturing through a registered youth apprenticeship. And you're going, how can a 16, 17-year-old be out there in the industry working in the shop? Because when you're 16, 17 with child labor laws, you can do this much. When you're 18, adult, you can do this much. But as we work with labor and industries and the partnerships, and because it's registered youth apprenticeship through Elma, now we get a variance in the students. They can't do everything, but they can do more. And then they're earning a 2,000-hour journeyman card that could be applied to an adult journeyman card. We also have, like I said, 2 internships. That's going to be a little different just because in the natural resources forestry industry, there is no registered apprenticeship. So we're looking at different ways that we want the students to get that experience and get that application out there, but we're going to have to do it be a little bit more creative in that because we're still working with 16, 17-year-olds. And then, you know, our goal is when they graduate, they have at least a minimum of 12 usable credits. This program, they're going to have far more, especially if they plan on going into that career pathway. But also notice that I put year 13, 14 here. This is really important. Doesn't mean they have to, but they're going to see that they already are halfway there because our students are going to graduate with credentials that either have already 1 year checked off, possibly an associate's degree checked off because they worked a little harder and they just got it done because it was relevant. And now they have direct acceptance into Grace Harbor College, and they have credits that can be transferred to multiple colleges. Okay. Also industry recognized certifications. So we're positioned to do this. Elma is. We've been focusing on manufacturing. We have dual credits. We have invested in equipment. Some of you that were in the shops probably years ago when I was teaching it, you can see that it's a little different. We have CNC machinery. We have forklift. Our students are trained around all of this industry equipment as we speak now. But now the goal is that they're going to apply that out in industry while they're in high school. We also stated before we have registered apprenticeship. Last year, our first cohort for 2022, we graduated 5 seniors, and they worked with 3 different industry partners: Bond Company, Sierra Pacific, and A&R Aviation up in Tumwater. This year, we have 7 seniors and 1 junior with five different industry partners. It still includes Bond Company and Sierra Pacific, but it also includes Phillips Enterprises with Pacific Veneer, Pacific Ironworks that you see as you go towards Olympia, and up in Olympia, Capital Industrial. Okay, so we're really placing kids in like 30-mile radius within our counties. Then in natural resources forestry, we do have a tradition. Timber is a Grace Harbor. It's a big focus with natural resources and forestry, and we're surrounded with state agencies. We have DNR, we have Department of Ag, we have Fish and Wildlife. We also have a lot of amazing partners already established with Green Diamond, Sierra Pacific, Port Blakely, Weyerhaeuser. We used to do a lot of jobs with Weyerhaeuser back in the day. But we do have, and we're also getting more and more funds. In order for us right now, we have a $25,000 grant to get equipment started for that. Plus, we have articulations with Grace Harbor College. This program specifically is working directly with Grace Harbor College, and when they're done with it at high school, a minimum, they'll have a 1-year certificate to become a natural resources forest technician that's recognized by our industry partners. Then, like I said, if they work a little extra harder, they most likely could have an associate's degree that then could perpetuate them right into Grace Harbor, their bachelor's program. I don't know if you knew that, but Grace Harbor College has a bachelor's program in this, and they're connected with all of our local industries. So who's for this? It's open to all students, current 8th and 9th graders. It's open to students who enjoy projects and developing real world, say that multiple times, solutions to challenges. We're looking for self-starters. We're looking for students who want to be motivated by relevance because they get it, they can connect to it. We're looking for that project-based learner, works in teams and independently, is excited for these career pathways, and interested in deeper learning. This program is not, it's different, it's not easier, and it's not harder. I think it's all a matter of perspective of how the student learns. How we're going to do this, there's going to be an application. I'll have applications up here for you to gather. This application is just simple questions about kind of so it frames what the students are getting into, and so you as parents will understand. You'll submit them either here at the high school to the counseling center, or middle school students, you can give that directly to Ms. Ferrier in the front office. And the applications are accepted through next month. Please utilize Ms. Holm, Mr. Nesmith, and myself to ask questions on any of this. And so this is just, look at all the varieties of things that we could have students be doing if they get into these careers. We're looking at ecosystems, wildlife management, soil and water management, riparian, geology, recreation. We have CNC programming, operating, engineering, and design. And one of the things I want to emphasize too is Mr. Nesmith said this is not just for the students who want to go into trades. This is for anybody. This is for students who want to go right to work. This is for students who want to go into an apprenticeship and extend and go into a technical college or community college. And it's for students who want to apply all this amazing skill to a bachelor's program. Think about it. Wouldn't we want all of our engineers to have practical knowledge and understanding? Okay. What's the end result? End result is students graduate with mastery learned credits for high school graduation. They graduate with dual credit. At most, we want all of our students to graduate with English 101. I put math XXX, and the reason I did that is because it all depends on the pathway they want, because there's a lot of different math based on their interest. So it could be financial math, it could be statistics, it could be calculus, because they're interested in engineering, all kinds of things. And then the science is also the same way. It could be chemistry or it could be biology. It all depends on what that interest is. We want them to participate either in the manufacturing automation technician apprenticeship or a natural resources forestry internship. We also want them to earn stackable credits that are guaranteed admission to post-secondary programs and hopefully potentially earn a wage and or stipend or scholarships. So I'm going to open this is common questions. I'm going to just field these and then I'm going to open it up for you guys. So lunch with friends. Yes. As long as it depends on the lunch they have. I believe we'll probably put them at first lunch, but don't, that's recorded, so don't guarantee, I won't guarantee that. Do they get breaks if there's no passing time? Yes, they're gonna get breaks, but it's within that 150 minutes. And like I said, they may be rotating through a project, and maybe they're just diving deep into a project for 2 hours. And then they're going, wow, that time went fast, and now they just need a little bit of a break to regroup and re-engage in another way of that they're gonna think. Is this a full day of school? Yes. What about high school experience? Yes, they get to do sports and activities after school. They also get to go to the dances. They get to go to the assemblies. They get to have all those experiences. Can I take PE or a performing arts class? No, because this school is specific for these career pathways, and you're going to earn those credits through mastery within these programs. Can I just take manufacturing or natural resources? No, this is all or none. And I think you can understand if you look at all these two career pathways, they're pretty well connected to each other in a lot of ways. Can I join or drop out at any time? No. The reason I say that is because, like anything, we always want to give it a go. So at minimum, if we're going to do any transitions, it's going to be semester time. Okay. Are there more programs in the works? Yes. Right now, we're going to start the fall of 2024 with manufacturing and forestry, or excuse me, natural resources, with our cohort of 25. We thought it was best for us to start with that and do it well before we got too carried away. But we already have in the works and a vision to have health sciences and education, early childhood education and education connected for the following fall in 2025. And also in consideration of how can we work in computer science and IT, because you can kind of tell that that's probably the nucleus of a lot of these industries in application. So that's what we got right now. So open to questions. Mr. Nesmith, did I miss anything?
Kind of explain why. We've done this for a while. I had the ability 2016 to go to Zurich, Switzerland, and go to Germany, and then design the state registered apprenticeship system. We actually run this for the entire United States. I ran a training with 50 superintendents across the United States today. I'll be in New York next week. I think we're going to Rhode Island next week in New York. I mean, this is what our job was. My job was designing apprenticeships. I grew up, I found out after I moved to Elma and called what Ski Harbor. I didn't realize that until I moved to Elma, but I grew up in Ocean Shores. So the whole goal was we designed this for the state. Very few schools across the nation took opportunity around buildings of apprenticeship career pathways. And it was, well, I taught in Shelton, I grew up in Grace Harbor, and if I wanted to do this work, let's go back to where I grew up and let's make it work. Christy's just done a great job on really running that through. One of the issues we see is our education system, think about it, 6 periods a day. It's intensive math, intensive English, intensive science for 50 minutes. Every 50 minutes you change. And in January of 2021, the law changed and it says your student actually doesn't have to be in an English class. Your student has to meet the 9th grade English standards. They don't have to be in an English class. Your student has to meet the algebra standards. They don't have to be in an algebra class. This is not a unique thing we came up with. You'll have seen that we built out the apprenticeship over the last 3 years. You've seen we built out a mastery-based learning initiative. We're flipping the switch. We have every standard pre-K through 12th grade mapped out, already built in, embedded in. All the infrastructure to make this work is done. The problem is like you talk about band in the middle of the day. That's an hour where you would be working on a project that you would miss out on that. So how many parents have had, if you think about this like school, it really won't work. You can't think about this like school. But parents who've had a job and you go to work every day, think about this like you go to work every day. How often do you at your job do 50 minutes of all the English skills on your job, and then you put it away, and now you just do 50 minutes of all the math on your job? How many do that? No one? Okay, students might come into this program and for 2 weeks solid, knock out all their algebra credit. That algebra class will be done 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks into the school year. And then they might turn around and say, okay, now I'm just going to work on the technical manuals and the instructional skills, and I'm going to do all the writing. I'm going to do the work order management. Because again, 7 out of 8 English standards are technical reading, technical writing, not literature. one's literature, 7 out of 8 are technical reading, technical writing. So if you're wondering how can you do this in this shop environment, that's why. But students are going to achieve their standards and meet their skills, much like you would have done as an employee during the workforce. And this is not my first rodeo. We've done this. I built a school like this in Yakima. It was a magnet school. We haven't moved to district, and it works. Again, Russ, the principal there, I said like 1 or 2 pieces of distance on effort. But there's a big but. Russ has one problem in the school we built. If your student is not interested in this career pathway, they will be bored. And that is 6 hours a day of boredom. And if your child is bored for 6 hours a day, this will not work. So when you look at the application and the interview, you're going to notice there's one interview question. Is this something you're interested in? And what we found was we had students on IEPs struggling. Russ had a student that was self-contained on an IEP that was turning around and doing pre-calculus calculus as they were programming how to send a spaceship into orbit around a planet. Because they were so interested in programming their video game, they taught themselves from multiplication all the way to calculus in a matter of months because they wanted to do it, because they wanted to make this video game work. And we found that students that are really interested in this work do well. But parents who said, I want my child to go to work in medicine and my kid doesn't hate medicine, he had problems with it because the student's like, well, I don't really want this. My parent wants this. So there's really, Christy, on your application, you probably want, maybe it's the same interview question over and over again. What does your child want to do? Because if your child is not interested in these pathways, I will promise you it won't work. We don't care about your students' academic ability because we've seen academic ability skyrocket when the student's interested and motivated. What we care is if your kid's interested. So does that kind of look at it? You can't think of it like on a 6-period day. Like in a regular school, you think like it's like a horizontal. Think about this as a vertical learning experience. With that, any questions?
Maybe.
Yep.
Do they graduate with their class, or are they considered a different? They graduate as Elma?
Yeah, they graduate as Elma High School students. The only reason why we're making it a separate school is for state bureaucratic counting minutes, because we have to count instructional minutes. And the way the state counts instructional minutes is they do it on a bell schedule. And as you notice, the school's on a different bell schedule. But we actually have it in our board policy. This was a big issue when we're talking about East Chris Harbor High School. Our board policy forever, before I was hired, says Elma School District only offers 1 diploma. So we had to bring East Chris Harbor High School into the graduation because by having 2 separate graduations, we weren't following our already in place board policy. So yes, one graduation.
My second question is if after a year they decide that they don't love it, what then happens? Then they're kind of behind in quote unquote.
We didn't find, so again, we did this again, I've done this in another district. It's not really a 1-for-1 because as Christy said, they found that they had students that wanted to go back to the traditional high school, but they would go through with 9th grade and 10th grade English standards done. So now they're 10th grade age, but they're going into 11th grade English because they loved English and they realized I can just hammer away at my English standards. And then the comprehensive high school had to figure out how am I going to put this 10th grader into 11th grade English, and how am I going to put this, but the same 10th grade, but I'm going to put you in geometry. So one of the issues we found is the students are going to kind of be across the board in their credits with a lot of enhanced credits based upon what they're interested in. So it comes out in the wash where you have to backfill those credits. If students are motivated, they're not behind. Students that felt like, hey, this didn't really match me, then there's some prodding. But I think the biggest issue he had was students on track to graduate early. And then parents come in and say, hey, my child is going to have all their credits by the end of their junior year because they just hammered away at all their 8th grade, their credits. But that ended up not being a problem either, because then the parents were like, but wait a minute, if I stay here, I can get the journey card. If I stay here, I get college for free. Like if I graduate my child early, now you're on the hook for paying for it. So then the parents were like, let's just not have my kid graduate early so I can continue to get the free college. It creates different problems. And I'm happy that we've done it in the magnet school once, because at least I can answer these questions, because I think the first year we did it, it was like not problems we expected.
The question that I have is when the kids were already in 9th grade, If they are interested, we sign them up and they're starting later. Or are they gonna resell on any stuff that's been happening already? Or is it just?
No, they're just gonna pick up on the 10th grade academic standards. And again, that's what we spent 3 years mapping out.
Okay.
So we mapped out all of the academic standards and we'll be embedding and integrating. To actually answer more bluntly, if you look at the English standards and math standards, actually 9th grade ELA standards are 9, 10, then they're 11, 12. So the standards are the same and then they're cyclical, which is part of the reason why we decided that we could do this with 9th and 10th graders, the first year cohort, because a lot of the 9th grade standards are cyclical.
Okay, and then, I guess when would the 9th grade start? If they, like, when would this start?
Next year. Yeah.
What does it look like if you jump in the car and start?
Well, I mean, this is done through a whole partnership with the college. This is 9th and 10th graders this year. So you would be on track to earn your associates at Grace Harbor College already. So if you were to move over to Grace Harbor College, you would be taking the free college credits you're getting here to go get free college credits there. So, I mean, I guess the question is if you're doing the forestry program, you would be just deciding that you wanted to get that content from their teacher instead of our teachers. So I guess.
Well, it would trend, yeah. This is already Running Start in a sense is already incorporated into it.
But because it's what's called CTE dual credit, we can begin offering those college credits in 9th grade. So then we have an issue, they have a meeting over there. A lot of our students go to Running Start, and they're not ready yet. So, and a big misnomer is anything below a B is detrimental to your future in college education. It's just because you get accepted to a university in your junior year, you have to get accepted to a college again. And you can't get accepted into a college, because again, I have a degree in education. So I went to Central Washington University. And then I had to get accepted into the College of Education. And to get accepted into the College of Education, I had to have a 3.25 GPA. I had to have above a D GPA. Large portion of our Running Start students will get C's or D's. And then they get locked. They can't move into their junior year of college because they can't get accepted into the college at the university. And a lot of our parents don't know that. They think I just got into the university and we're done. You're not done. You have to have a B GPA. So what this does is it takes the 2-year degree, stretches it out over 4 years, so we can pace it and ensure we can pad that GPA better. And we can go back and reteach the standards and raise that GPA so we're not creating a lot of students with low college level GPAs, because that low college GPA is almost impossible to replace.
Again, add to that too, is we also have an agreement with the colleges that the students don't have to accept the credit if they don't want to, and or most of them they don't want to accept that credit unless they have a B or better, and then it would transfer. So it's important for us to just look at that. And earlier I said they can earn the college credit when they meet standard, and we want that standard to be where it's not going to affect their GPA in the future.
It's bowling with the guardrails down. So you can go to Running Start, but if you get a D, get a D. And that's on your college transcript. And if you have lower than a 3.0, again, I have an education bachelor's degree, that's a 3.25 GPA. If you don't have 3.25, you're not moving forward in your degree. You're locked until you retake your classes. Again, Elma has we're about 20% lower than the state average on our post-secondary completion. That's a big issue we have with our Running Start. That is a real issue with our students going to Running Start earning C's. You wouldn't think a C is a bad grade. Those C grades lock them out of completing a bachelor's degree, and a lot of our parents don't know that.
And I want to also say is they'll have a lot of different opportunity of credits. But again, the students may not want to have all those credits, because the other thing that we want to make sure is that when the students do graduate from high school, they're going into the career pathway they want with not a lot of extra college credits that they won't use, because that could hinder their financial aid.
Yes.
So am I getting grades, or how are we getting updated on if they're doing what they're supposed to?
You're going to log into, we have a new learning management system that launches. You got to rethink this as opposed to grade. Child has a list. We have a list of the 9th grade English standards, and you're seeing how many standards they're completing. But then we have an area in what they should have completed when. So what you're going to get is are you making adequate progress by the end of the year to complete all of these standards? It's not uncommon that a student just really likes the fun part of the projects, but they don't really like the math parts of the project. And then you see it listed out, and then you go, you need to get this done. And then you see all these standards flash out. It's not graded the same way. Our education system is kind of detrimental grading. Where it's like if you get a D or you get a 0, if you miss an assignment, right? Most parents don't think about this. If your child misses an assignment, that's two Fs. Right? Because let's say your child misses an assignment that's a 0, turn the next assignment in to get an A. What's the average? 50%. That's an F. This grading system is a list. Just like many of you have done when you get a job. You check off every single scale and your child's grade only goes up until they've completed all the standards. And then when they've completed the standards, then their grade is issued.
And they have to complete the standards at a level of proficiency. So you may see that they're working on a standard, but they may not be proficient yet. And our goal is we keep working at it, and they're doing different tasks or projects to showcase that they're meeting that standard and then get to proficient.
And so like there's no Fs in the school, but it's not like in a no one fails way, it's in as a not yet way. Because if your child is still working on 9th grade English standards, then they're back to working on 9th grade English standards. So it's not like normally you fail and you gotta redo everything over again. Here it's, well, you gotta get your list done. Gotcha.
There's a certain time frame that they get to, if they want those credits, or they have to, say by that end of this year.
No, they would decide when they get ready to matriculate into their college program.
Yep.
So like when they're older.
And we have that agreement with the college. That was one of the main things we wanted to make sure when we were lining this up, that the college would still accept it, but not like make it that, yeah, if you're showing you have to accept it.
It's a rethinking of education, but again, all the laws have changed to allow this. Your child's grade only goes up. They only work through the list. But again, most parents, when you got trained at your company, this is how they trained you. Can you do it? I like to relate it to, I have to fly to Rhode Island Sunday. So how many of you like to think about our current grading system? Like I like think, hey, my pilot got a B average. It's great, but he got a 60% in landing. How do you feel about that? Where you're going in for surgery and, you know, they got a B, but the suture section of their surgery aspect, not so good, but came out in the wash as a B average. Because that's our current grading system. This is your student is doing everything to proficiency. Again, this is much more like what you experience as an employee when you're going to work. Yes.
What happens if they don't meet a standard?
There's a lot of standards. So there's some standards that it doesn't mess with the overall average. They're going to hit the 90%. But if you're talking about a big bulk of standards, we are actually staffing academic coaches to frame this out. So when I'm talking about meeting standards, without going into the logistics of the design, we're rethinking English, math, science teachers, where as opposed to they sit in the front of the room and they lecture on an English assignment, they work with those CTE teachers and map out those English standards, and then they come in and work with you. So the instructional coaches will come in, and if the whole class doesn't figure out the standard, they might be coming in and just taking over the class and saying, okay, everybody's struggling with this English standard. I'm just going to reteach this English standard. Or maybe it's 3 or 4. I'm going to pull you 3 or 4 out and we're going to do this English standard. Right? So, or it's just 1 or 2. I can come by and help you. So we're rethinking the school design, and that's why it's in our best interest to continue to grow. It's why we're looking at 2 more career pathways, is it enables us to use an English and a math teacher differently, where they're coaches and make sure the English skills and the math skills are being done to fidelity in that program. Yes.
So if there's a student that's a 9th grader this year, going to 10th grade, they not have as much opportunity to use the maximum credit as so much as in 9th grade?
As if they're meeting standard, they have just as much opportunity to meet those college credits. Because we look at it that most 9th graders may not be meeting standards to those college credits. It may not really happen until sophomore year, excuse me. And most certainly junior, senior year. If that makes sense.
It's amazing how much free time, because when you think in a traditional education environment, how much wasted time we have. Your child goes out in the hall, kids say a lot of mean things to each other, they go to the next room, and you have about 20 minutes of wasted time just trying to recollect their attention. And then you get about 30 minutes of teaching, they go in the hall, they get themselves wired up again, and then you have 20 minutes of retrying to collect their attention. And what's happening is these students get amassed in a project, so the actual time on task is incredibly, it's greater.
And they're learning the essential workforce skills that we all have to do and have learned as we work with others. So the team is essential.
Chris?
So one good thing, like as a teacher, English, like, sometimes it takes a while for our students to get the flow, you know? So the thing is 100% right, you know, 10, 15 minutes, you just kind of started, you kind of get the flow, then you got to kind of wrap it up, you know, next day. So this model is really good flow because they can stay in that flow for longer and accomplish more.
This is pretty well designed as a criticism of what's wrong with just regular school. Because this school makes sense if your child is interested in the pathway, right? What doesn't make sense is the regular school day. And that's what this is built to address. But this only works if your child is interested in those pathways, which is why we have to do a slow scale implementation. And we know not every student will be interested in these pathways.
So, my son's at the track meet right now, but he messaged me a question. If he's a student that has high grades and everything like that, does that help him, or does that like ruin it?
I don't think either one. Because as he moves into the new school, I guess the big question is let's go back to the traditional model. What does the grade mean? And I'm a superintendent, I'll be honest, I don't know what the grades mean. I mean, you get one assignment is worth 50 points for a paper, but what are the 50 points worth? Or you took a test, or this. I mean, I guess I ask you as parents, what do the grades mean? In this new model, it's going to be specifically what your child knows. So I guess my question is does the grade represent what your child knows? Or did it just mean they didn't have any late work? Right? Like, so we have a lot of grades that, well, you didn't have any missing work, so you got an A. Versus this model is literally your grade is based off of what you know.
And if it's mastery, now that's really, it's the upper grade.
Yeah.
So what's the criteria at the end of the program?
Is do you have a career pathway you're really interested in? Honestly, that we found that we launched this school 2020, we found that was the secret sauce. It's fine. You're fine.
So, you're not gonna have more than 25 people in the class. How are you guys going to, is it gonna be random as to who gets in?
We will.
When will you know? When will the kids know if they either accepted or?
Our goal right now is to collect applications through end of April. We'll be working with the counselors as we're, start setting up classes. The way I look at the timeline is that we would be knowing this in May, mid-May. We don't know what to expect as far as who's coming in or not. I would say that we're going to be looking at, 25 is a number we have out there, but we're also going to we'll have alternates and things like that. We also know that, we know the reality is that summer happens and things may change and people adjust. So we're going to have a list that kind of, you'll have your wait list and all that stuff.
That's a good problem that we're kind of cautiously hoping for.
Yeah, we don't know.
We'll have. So, fingers crossed. And the other question is we will move to, if we need to, an interview phase, just to make sure it's what the students want. Because again, it might be like the students like, hey, regular school's not working for me. I would tell parents, don't have your child do this because regular school is not working. Don't go here to get away from something else. Because if you're going here because regular school is not working, this is not a guaranteed magic solution. Because if your child is like, I don't really like any of this stuff, you're literally just going from one problem to the next problem. And we are looking at adding additional career pathways. We have a career in education. That was the benefit of working for the governor's office and designing all the apprenticeships. We actually have them all available, just pull them out. So we have the IT computer science one. We have the early childhood education one. We haven't built the medical one, but we think that'll be fully built by next year. So we'll have we're looking at these other options. So it might be like, these two aren't really what I want, but I would like to do the medical program or a careers in ed program.
So yeah, ultimately, when we get these other programs going, students will have the opportunity potentially to flow in or connect the way they want to too. So.
Yes. So the question is like, if the credits would be transferable. Well, it's gonna really be dependent upon if they take those credits, right? So if you complete an associate's degree, they could take the credits. I don't know if I would guarantee all of our credits will be transferable because we're doing Grace Harbor credits, which is the same risk if your child goes to Running Start. It's the same risk if they earn credits in any kind of credit-based problem. So will the credits transfer? You have to go to a transfer portal, see what credits they'll take, and it's a whole logistical problem that whether you did this program or another program will still exist.
And it depends on the college. I will also say that, you know, you're kind of looking at a performance where you're already doing something that's unique and different, which will look, you know, college applications. And some colleges are looking more about like, how are they going to accept or maybe say, okay, this in a lot of ways proficiency also mastery. But again, every college is different. It's something you have to look into.
Shoot.
When they successfully or they excel in this program, when they graduate with their peers, are they graduating with a 4.0 or are they graduating with a college? I mean, is there any?
So there's two questions, right? Well, that's kind of the topic I dance around a bit because it's pretty controversial. The way we award and build a transcript is your student meets a 9th grade standard, right? And I think we would all ideally have that 9th grade meeting being an A. I mean, we've had students where we've been like, you've met 80% of the, or like 85% of the standards, and that would be a B. And then the parents are like, no, just get that up to an A, just meet the last 10 of them. And then you award the credit and it goes on the transcript and it reads like a regular transcript. 9th grade English, A. But if your grade only goes up, in theory, your child is, you have a school of a lot of 4.0s. Because your grade doesn't go down, it's not an average. And you can just go back and hit it until you get it. And this is not to devalue it. It goes back to my example on if you're in an airplane. I mean, traditional school, I mean, how many, well, my pilot didn't figure out how to land, but we're moving on anyway. How many would like them to go back and readdress landing? Traditional school, again, doesn't make sense. Your child didn't figure out chapter 2. Going on to chapter 3. Well, you need chapter 2 to figure out chapter 6. Doesn't matter. I gotta get this done. I've got to get through all these classes before we're done. And I've got to give my lecture to the whole class, and I got to give you all the same tests on the exact same day. That's not this model. Your child is going to be working on the standard and where they are at, where your child is at. And then we'll have projects where those standards are embedded, and then we will have an online learning platform to kind of reinforce some of those skills. So, I mean, yeah, to your point, we have a lot of 4.0s because the model of teaching is different. And you're going to have a transcript that reads like a regular transcript. Now, I'm not saying everybody will have a 4.0. Because the question came over, what about your student? They just can't get these standards. Well, we're going to make a judgment call. Maybe it's time to just move on. Fine, you have an A-. I don't want to bury myself on the standard. Let's just move on and just take the A-. That might be a judgment call we make, but that'll be collaborative. Did that answer that question? It's you're rethinking what, like I said, this makes sense. Regular school doesn't make sense. I mean, explain to me why your child got left behind on chapter 2. We had to get the class done. Any other questions?
Is there any outside school hours that are required?
I wouldn't say required, but again, under that new law, it's WAC 18051, says that your child meets standard, they earn credit. It's not uncommon that a child's going to be like, I just need to get this list kind of pounded out, and I'm going to get these standards met. So if you're behind, it might be like, look, you just got to learn these 3 English skills. No, we don't have Saturday classes or field trips or anything required. I think it's more
There
loose.
could be extensions of trips after school.
Oh, if they're competing, yeah, especially if they're competing.
And they have the opportunity to be, Skills USA and FFA is connected to these programs. So, and then I will also say that as their junior, senior year, if they're looking at an apprenticeship or internship, those could very well be into the summertime.
And they're getting paid and they're working.
Yeah.
And then that becomes a whole new weird thing too, because their time at work is actually not work time, so like a minor can only work 24 hours a week, 28. But if they're working and earning high school credit, that doesn't actually calculate into that 28. That's school time. So then minors can actually start working beyond, because that's how LNI looks at that work time as you're earning high school credit is school time and not work time. Then we get into some weird nuances of youth labor laws that we could spend out. I could probably do a TED talk on and be here for hours.
Don't let him do it.
Any other questions? I mean, if we get more than 25, we'll be pleasantly surprised, because we were kind of thinking, there's 125 eighth graders coming up. And if we cut that in half, so we're hoping that if we got 10% of each class, we were gonna be doing well, because we knew it was a radical proposal. So to ask you as parents to say, hey, this is what you've been doing forever. Maybe it's not working, let's do something different. It's kind of a weird thing for a school district to tell you. So if we get over that, then we'll adjust to that problem.
So I'll just come around and get you guys some applications.